Ever get the feeling that, like, sometimes words just aren't enough?
Oh, yeah, all the time, especially when things get kinda, complicated.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like, how do you explain those really deep emotions? The ones that are hard to even put a name to?
Right. Like when you're feeling a whole bunch of things at once.
Well, today we're diving into a piece that tackles that exact problem.
Okay, cool.
It's called Whispers of the Palate.
Whispers of the Palate.
Yeah, and it's this personal story about someone who found a way to express those tricky emotions
Interesting.
through food.
Food.
Food. They were on like this luxury cruise.
Oh, wow, fancy.
Yeah, so we're not talking about like everyday meals here. This is fine dining.
Okay, so like really carefully crafted dishes and stuff.
Exactly. And the author seems to believe that each bite, each taste can be like a secret code for something much deeper, like a whole language of emotions hidden within the food.
I'm intrigued already. So how does this food language thing actually work?
Well, let's start with their first stop, Chop's Grill. They describe it as this super sophisticated place, dim lighting, rich wood, crisp linens.
Sounds kind of intimidating.
Maybe a little, but also like exciting.
True.
And they start with a shrimp cocktail, but they don't just call it a shrimp cocktail. They call it a cool oceanic kiss with tangy cocktail sauce.
Okay. That's pretty poetic for a shrimp cocktail.
Right. It's like their taste buds are waking up for the first time.
Yeah, I actually highlighted that part in the book because they mentioned that this was like the first time in ages they actually slowed down and enjoyed a meal.
Interesting.
It's almost like that shrimp cocktail was like a reawakening, not just for their palate, but also for like their ability to experience pleasure, you know?
That makes me think about something you mentioned earlier about how you find it hard to express your own feelings sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the author then goes on to describe the filet mignon as a lingering thought. Does that resonate with you at all? Like, is that how it feels when you're struggling to find the right words?
Totally. It's like there's this really important idea swirling around in your
But
head.
it's too complex to just blurt out.
Yeah, exactly. And the way they describe the steak, it makes me wonder if all these like elaborate descriptions are their way of saying what they can't express directly.
And that's a really interesting point. And then comes dessert. Chocolate lava cake. The author says the molten center was like a mirror reflecting these unspoken joys, almost like a guilty pleasure.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
But I wonder if there's like a deeper meaning there too. Could it be about more than just enjoying dessert? Maybe something they're afraid to admit even to themselves?
That's a great question. I mean, we do tend to attach a lot of emotions to food, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to Izumi, the Japanese restaurant on the ship.
I love Japanese food.
Me too. And it seems like this place was all about like appreciating artistry and precision.
I can see that.
The author describes the sushi as a symphony of textures and tastes. They talk about the tuna sashimi like it's silk milking in their mouth, and the dragon roll is this like sweet and spicy dance.
Sushi is definitely an art form.
Right. And they even focus on the chef's movements at the hibachi table. Like they're mesmerized by the skill and the performance of it all.
Makes sense. In Japanese culture, presentation is super important. It's not just about how the food tastes, but also how it looks.
Totally. And then there's the green tea ice cream. They describe it as this subtle sweetness that reminds them to savor those fleeting pleasures in life.
Oh, I love green tea ice cream.
It does make you want to slow down and enjoy every bite, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what do you think they're trying to say about pleasure being fleeting?
Hmm. I think it speaks to like those little moments of joy we
Those
experience.
simple, pure moments.
Exactly. And they're so easy to miss if we're not paying attention, you know?
Absolutely. And it's interesting how that theme of like longing and savoring keeps popping up throughout the whole piece.
Yeah, you really notice it when they get to Giovanni's table.
The Italian restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it about that place that stood out to you?
Well, first of all, the author describes the ambiance as like rustic Italian charm.
I can practically smell the fresh herbs and hear the chatter in Italian.
Exactly. And then they list the antipasti, marinated olives, creamy burrata, salty prosciutto.
That's quite the combination.
It is. And they describe it as this tantalizing promise, like you can't wait to see what comes next.
And what did come next?
Handmade pappardelle with wild boar ragu. I love how they describe the pasta as a soft embrace and the flavors as a soulful melody. It's like they're being completely enveloped by the warmth and comfort of Italian cooking.
Oh, man. That description actually reminds me of this amazing pasta dish I had once in Tuscany.
Really?
Yeah, it was so simple but so flavorful. It really did feel like a hug from my soul. And of course, we can't forget about the tiramisu. Layers of coffee-soaked sponge and mascarpone. They even call it whispers of indulgence.
It's interesting how their descriptions become more and more personal as we go through the different restaurants.
You're right, it's like they're letting their guard down a little with each course.
Exactly, revealing more of themselves through their connection with the food.
And in the end, they come right out and say it. These meals weren't just about eating. They were a way for them to express all those feelings they couldn't put into words.
Food as a language.
Exactly. Each dish, each taste was like a little piece of their inner world.
And by allowing themselves to experience those flavors so fully.
They were also giving themselves permission to feel those emotions.
And it seems like they found a real sense of peace in that silence, you know?
It's like they realized that sometimes the most beautiful things in life are the ones we experience quietly, the things we savor without needing to shout them from the rooftops.
And that brings us to like a really important question for our listeners.
What about you?
Yeah. How do you connect with your own emotions through sensory experiences?
Think about it. When was the last time you really savored a meal? Or got lost in a piece of music? Or felt completely awestruck by a view?
What did those moments make you feel?
What whispers did you hear?
Keep diving deep.
Until next time. See you later.